Hi, this is Lulu Saidi, and you're tuned in to Wow Radio, the podcast. Now, some episodes back, we talked to HR consultant and career coach Karen Olege, who took us through the why is HR not picking us for the job. You asked us that. You told us how difficult it was to get jobs, and we got the pro to help us understand. Today, we are going to the next level, and we are understanding, what does a winning CV look like? What about the cover letter? I mean, we already sent the CV. HR already knows who we are. Why do they need the cover letter? And what needs to be there? We're going to be talking about tackling these difficult questions that HR throws at us. Tell me about yourself, together with a myriad others. And most importantly, the presentation. We've been told presentation is very important. How do we present ourselves in these interview sessions? How do we sit? How do we dress? How do we talk? How do we answer questions? Or even ask? Should HR be asked questions at interviews? We don't know. But today with us is career coach, is HR consultant and career coach Karen Olege. Karibu tena.
Thank you so much, Lulu Saidi.
Yeah.
Happy to be here again.
Yes, karibu sana. Last time you really shed so much light on why HR is not picking us. And one of the things you said is that these systems are automated.
Yes.
Yeah? That you've asked us to send Word documents, we're sending PDF. We are locked out.
Yes.
And recently, I was telling you, I saw on LinkedIn a job hunter, and he was saying that, you know what, HR is really relying on this automated system so much, and he feels that is the reason why he's being locked out. And there's a possibility that HR is locking out talent, good talent,
Sure.
that they can train for these roles, but because the first stage has to be automated.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, that's a reality. It's true that we have automated systems.
Yeah.
Majority of the systems actually right now for HR, they're automated. That's why you will. Initially, we used to send CVs even on an email. You're given an email address and you send your CV there. But these times you will be just given some kind of a website or a platform, and you upload your CV there most of the time. So most of these CVs, they go into an applicant tracking system, which is what you hear ATS. People talk about ATS compliant CVs. So the applicant tracking systems, they help us to sift through these CVs because you guys are many.
Okay.
The applicants are many,
It's
especially
true.
in Kenya, the job market right now, there's so many people
Yeah.
who are looking for work, and many times you will get so many applicants. And then also we have people who just shoot their shot. Even sometimes you will ask for 10 years experience, a master's, but somebody who is a fresh graduate with just a degree, they will apply.
But there were days when that used to happen. When people would tell us their stories of faith and resilience. And they would
you're
tell
totally right in doing that because it's a matter of chance as well. But you can imagine on the HR's end or on the recruiters and how many CVs we are receiving. Sometimes it's hundreds and sometimes even thousands of CVs for just one position.
Yeah.
So that's why we have the ATS systems that help us to do the initial sifting. And they check for the basics because they're not intelligent. They don't read through. So they check for the basics. That is the qualifications, like the academics mostly, the degree, the master's, if there is specific professional qualifications, if there is years of experience, the type of experience. For example, people want NGO type experience and all that. So they will help us just to sift those basics and reduce it's sort of like you're weeding out everything that doesn't meet your bare minimum.
Yeah.
So usually you need to make sure that you comply with the format in which you're asked to submit your CV.
Yeah.
Don't ignore if you see somebody is asking for a Word format or PDF, don't ignore. It's because that's the format which their system works with. And if you just put perhaps if I've asked for PDF and you've put Word, then the system just rejects the CV immediately without even looking because it can't read it.
There's something interesting you've said, and it's still part of the weeding off.
Yes.
Now this job wants people who are in the NGO space.
Yes.
You have very good qualifications, maybe not in the NGO space. How do you then tweak it, not to lie that your experience is NGO, but to make the ATS system accept you? Or is the ATS just looking for the word NGO? So if it's not there,
No, it's not looking for the word NGO. It's basically looking now. It needs to be able to pick out even the names of the organizations that you have worked for example, and the kind of work that you've been doing there. So keywords, if you have any keywords, and the keywords, you can find them from the job description itself that is advertising the job.
Okay.
So try to mirror.
Okay.
And that's what is customizing the CV. Try to mirror your CV with the job advert itself, so that some of the keywords, because sometimes it will just use keywords to figure out whether or not you have the type of experience that we are looking for.
Okay.
So make sure the keywords are there. Make sure that your CV is in the backward chronological order. You're starting with the latest experience. If you're at work, you're starting with today, going backwards, so that you can be able to tell to see the number of years of experience, for example, that you have.
Also, if you start the other way around,
most of the ATS systems, they don't get, it's really just a system.
Okay.
In fact, the IT people should tell us how they have done this. It's just a system, and that's how it works.
Okay.
So it will not be able to read out the years of experience well. So just make sure that everything, colors, as much as possible, use black on the fonts, use basic fonts, because these systems, they are as simple as that.
So now nobody is taking our CVs and going through them manually. So mambo ya fancy CVs we leave.
Fancy CVs, even for me, I do CV review and revamp for people. And I always tell them, you see all that fanciness that people sometimes, the pinks and the blues.
Yes. The blues especially. Navy blue, it looks, sophisticated.
I really don't think they are helping you.
Are you serious?
I don't think they're helping you. A CV formatting needs to be as simple as possible. Black font, use the normal fonts, the Times New Roman, the Calibri, the Arial. Don't, be,
Don't be fancy.
all over.
Okay.
Unless really the job is asking for that. If you're going into art and maybe the person wants to see that. But if it's just these usual jobs that you're applying, as simple as possible. If you're PDFing the document, Word, then PDF. Some people scan. You know the way it's printed, and then you scan it.
Yeah.
So it's still a PDF, but that one cannot be read at all by the applicant tracking system.
Okay.
So just make sure that you're adhering to proper formats, you're sequencing your CV correctly, you're reducing the the extras as much as possible, so that it's easy for the ATS to read your CV and to find that you actually meet the threshold.
So how does a CV that wins look like? What is the format that we should go through? Yeah.
So first of all, I've talked about the font and the colors, and minimize. Don't even have graphics. People say don't have tables. Those are tables. Correct. Yeah. Okay. Don't have tables, because the system sometimes are not able to read the content within the tables. So don't have the tables. The tables may come in if you're given a case study, which is much later now. Okay. But initially just have that, and then also the chronological order, as I said, starting with today work experience, going backwards, then going into the education. The education always start with the academics. For example, because sometimes, again, the ATS will just pick the top. Yeah. It will pick the top. So, for example, if I'm looking for someone who has a bachelor's in this, and maybe you have started with CPA.
Okay.
So it will pick the CPA and leave out the bachelor's,
which is more important.
Which is more important, because it's kind of like, this job needs a bachelor's. So it will. The system itself will imagine that there's no bachelor's, because it will pick that top. So start with the academics, the masters, the bachelors, and then now follow it with the professional, the other things. And then if there are other workshops and seminars you've attended, include them as well. So make sure there's that chronological flow. Is there a job that would maybe put more preference on the professional papers? So then maybe you need to tweak it and put the professional paper on top, or never do that? Rarely. And reason why I say that is because sometimes people are willing to be flexible on the professional papers, but we are not willing to be flexible on the academic papers. Yeah. Because, for example, if I'm recruiting for a HR role, I would like for you to have to be IHRM certified, for example. Yeah. So you have done your CHRP, you have qualified. But at times you find with these professional courses, there are people who are ongoing. They're still, in the process and all that. And I may still consider you if you are ongoing, but I'm not willing to flex on the degree. So begin with just the degrees, and then of course now at some point, once you have passed the long list and the short list, then we are going to review. There is a point where we will now literally sit with the CVs and review, but at this time there are now fewer. Okay. So at that point, then I'll be able to see, okay, now you have this extra other things that are desirable for the job. Okay. Before we even go to the work experience, there's this top
place where we write our name and we write our contacts.
Yes.
We write our nationality also.
Yes.
I see people also putting their marital status, their photos. How much is too much? What should we just put?
That
is too much.
That is too much. And you know, I always say this.
Yeah.
Give people less room to judge you.
Yeah.
Give people less room to judge you because you don't know who is receiving your CV.
It's true.
Only give me information that is relevant for this job.
So they've never denied me a job because I said I was single, married, or they didn't like my photo?
They could have. Reason being, remember, it's a human being who will look at this CV. They will judge you. If I'm just having a bad day when I'm going through a divorce and you're screaming at my face that you're married.
This one is the one I don't like.
Because I'm telling you, it is not okay.
Yeah.
But remember, there is the human.
Beings.
Yeah, they're human beings.
Yeah.
So that could trigger. Even some people put their ethnicity.
Yes.
And you don't know whether I have something against.
So then I shouldn't also put my nationality.
Even the nationality is not relevant. Usually, for some remote jobs these days, I would put location and then say Kenya. Because at times you would find this is a remote job which is looking for somebody in any of a number of countries. For example, I can fill this role if you're from South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, or whatever else.
Yeah.
So just putting location Kenya already now tells me you're within the jurisdiction which we work, because if you're not within that place, then we would have to think about work permits and everything.
Yeah.
But if you're within a certain jurisdiction, so that's enough.
Yeah.
You don't need, and if it's a local company, you don't need to say this ethnicity or that ethnicity. It's not important.
Okay.
So those are reasons somebody will judge, even your photo.
Oh, yes.
It's a reason somebody will judge you. So don't give us that, unless in the media spaces where maybe you're going for TV and somebody now cares about your face.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no.
But maybe
not
that
important.
should even be later when they ask for it.
Yeah, that should actually even be later.
Yeah. So now we come from that bio place at the top, and then now we go to the work experience.
Yes.
And then I remember we talked about this work experience when you have a gap.
Yes.
But then we didn't really talk much about how to present that gap in the CV.
Okay, I wouldn't talk about presenting a gap. I would just say, first of all, okay, what were you doing with the gap? That's the first question.
Okay.
So the gap would be because either you were volunteering, either you were just taking a break, either it was for health reasons, maybe you were traveling, maybe you were just jobless. There was no opportunity and there was nothing to fill it in. So if it was a volunteer opportunity or a study opportunity, you can put it in.
Because as a job experience.
It is something in your experience you can put as a volunteer, and you just say, I volunteered this.
Okay.
Like, for example, this year to this year, I was a volunteer record keeping.
Okay.
And you can put it there as a volunteer experience. But if it is not, it was not work related, just leave it from the CV. The best we can do is we can ask. We can ask when now we are interviewing you, we can ask you about the gap. And then you can tell us, oh, I was studying or I was just taking a break. But again, we are minimizing the asking, because we are also learning as HR that there are so many reasons why you could have taken a break. So if, as long as you have met, for example, if I'm looking for 5 years experience, as long as the total number of years of experience is 5, even with breaks in between, I should just be comfortable.
Okay.
But if I'm not comfortable and I ask in the interview, that's where you will have a chance to bring it out.
I'm just thinking, is there a creative way that you can bring that aspect of the gap into your cover letter? You know, and then maybe talk about it as, and you know, and bringing some of these issues, if it was for your mental well-being, bring it up in such a way that it's not so personal, but again, that would require a lot of creative writing.
To say as though you're not saying.
Yes. Is that a solution?
I personally have a bias against cover letters. I'm yet to understand why we ask for them.
I know.
I personally don't ask for cover letter. In my years of recruitment, I've never looked at any cover letter, whether it's submitted or not.
Are you serious? I'm just thinking there are people who ask us to submit it.
What more do I need?
That's what I've always asked. I've already told you my professional background. No,
because the most important thing, really, is to talk to the person. When it's to talk to the person, there's the energy you receive.
Yes.
There's how I gauge your competency when you're seated right in front of me and I'm asking the questions. So the CV is just intended for me to know that first of all you meet this bare minimum. So all other stories, we can now have them in the interview.
And I feel like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but the cover letter is like an avenue for being pretentious. You know, because now I have to tell you, other things, how much the company means to me. And, you know, and sometimes it's like, yes, the fact that I'm applying for this company, it means that
I'm interested,
you know,
in your mission, vision, and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now you want me to tell you.
Yeah, whenever I'm writing a cover letter, because I also apply for jobs, and there's some jobs that will just require for it, like it's a field, you need to put it before it goes.
Yeah.
So whenever I have to write it, I'm always like 2 paragraphs long, 2 short paragraphs long.
Are you serious?
I don't do much.
Have they called you for a job with 2 paragraphs? No way.
All the time.
What did you tell them in the 2 paragraphs?
Almost nothing. Almost. Actually, my first paragraph will just say that I am excited to apply for this opportunity that I have met perhaps online, and I say it resonates with my you know, I would tie my passion to their mission.
Yes.
So, for example, I will look at what the mission of the organization is: to alleviate poverty. So I would say I'm passionate about community development and society development initiatives, which really resonates with what their mission is in doing this. So I would just tie so that there is a congruence between who I am as a person with who you are as an organization. And you would understand that I'm not just coming here because it's a job. I'm coming here because I buy into your vision and your mission. So that's all that I need to articulate there.
And you didn't prove to them how, you know, you've just told them. Anybody can just tell them.
I really don't. I really don't.
Girl.
Honestly, I don't. I don't, because everything else will be said in the interview. I don't know why I don't see the important. But guys, if you have to do a cover letter, honestly, I struggle with that.
Yeah.
But if you have to do a cover letter, I think just focus on there being that congruence between what is your personal passion in life, and find a congruence. And if you can't find a congruence, then don't even join that organization. Because again, we said, we are not doing jobs for the sake of jobs.
No.
We are doing this is life.
Yeah.
You're going there every day.
Yeah.
So it helps if you even 10% feel what you're doing. So find a point of congruence. Even if it is customer experience, say that you like talking to people, you like making people's lives better, and you see that this is also their mission, customer first, whatever.
Yeah.
So find a way to tie your passion with their mission, and just use a paragraph or 2. But I personally wouldn't put too much time and effort. The only time I would maybe invest in a cover letter is when I'm doing this applications for the applications that people make for fellowship programs. You know, like I'm trying to be a Mandela Washington fellow. They really are keen about your story.
Yeah,
your story. It's not just a job. It's your story and everything. Or you're trying to this university opportunities. Maybe you're going for a certain scholarship, and they ask for a cover letter and your CV. So they're interested about your story, and you can now give your story.
Yeah.
But for jobs, no.
Okay. So, but if you ever get to such a job, you try to pull in your story and their story.
Yes.
And you know how they can marry
and show that it's one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm telling you, cover letters, I usually see them and I take in a deep breath, go for some tea, and then come back.
I know.
So now,
but can I just tell HR, please, can we just not?
Yes.
We don't need them. And HR people know we have no time for cover letters.
It's true.
I'm receiving 700 CVs and 700 cover letters.
Yeah.
And you're asking me to go through the cover letter?
And there's an opportunity for a face-to-face conversation.
A face-to-face conversation, just to hear that you're a farmer and you like goats? No, I don't think so.
It's so true. I mean, I think it's time we started, sifting out the things that are not necessary now, because they give us so much stress.
Yeah.
And really.
Yeah.
So now we've talked about the bio. We've talked about, after that, then we go to the work experience, and then we go to your school experience.
Yes.
And sometimes, and this happens to a lot of people, especially people who have decided to pursue master degrees.
Yeah.
You've not yet graduated. It's that thesis you have not finished, you know?
Yes.
You are now a mom. So many things have happened. People have not done theses. Their thesis, is there a plural? Theses. Can't say that. Thesis.
Just thesis.
But people haven't finished those things, you know? Elephants in the room.
Yes.
Can you still put that degree there? You've done the class one.
Yes, you put it and you say it's ongoing.
Oh.
You say it's ongoing. So if it's a master's, you started last year or 2 years ago.
What is 10 years ago?
Even that.
And it's still ongoing?
Because people, yes, it's ongoing. You know, this thing you're saying about thesis, we know, even us, we are doing them and we are still doing.
Okay.
I know. I mean, it's the human. You know, you mentioned about the human in human resources. It's the human. And this life, we're also living it. So we are also starting masters, going into motherhood, coming back 5 years later to finish the thesis. So we know, we get it.
But then I stand a chance of looking like that person who starts things and doesn't finish.
No. But you finished your bachelor's. There are so many other things that you have finished in that CV. So why would I pick one? You have finished
because
high
it's
school.
been 10
you
years.
have finished the degree.
And
Now you're in the master's. And then also there are so many reasons why sometimes the master's is not complete. Yeah, it could even be financial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So HR is not looking for perfection. That's what I'm hearing.
No, we're not looking for perfection. For example, if I was looking for somebody who has just done, even that master's, I'm looking for somebody who has done that master's and I see it's ongoing, I'll still be interested. If the rest of the CV is compelling, I will still be interested to meet you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say anything about my character,
No.
my ability to complete or not complete things.
It's one thing. Unless there are several things that are ongoing,
Yes.
then I would wonder why is
This
everything
person.
ongoing. Even maybe masters, you're also having maybe 2 professional courses that are ongoing. Then I'll be like, but why is she in 3 courses and they're all ongoing?
Speaks about their planning.
Yeah,
and
they're planning. But if it's just one thing, then I'll it's easy to understand that you've done everything finished. Now you're doing this one.
And what about people who have now decided, you know what, me I've done my ACCAs until part 2.
Yeah.
Hii kitu siendelee nayo imeisha. Ama this masters, I've decided to be honest with myself. I'm not going to write this thesis.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Can you still put your masters there in your CV? Can you still put those professional courses that you decided, hii imetosha. What I've done until this level is enough.
Yeah.
Can you still put them?
So it depends, yeah?
Okay.
Especially if it's on your life. There is a reason as to why. There's a reason as to why you started that master's and you decided you don't want to do it.
Yes.
You don't want it to be part of your life. You had started development studies. Maybe your passion changed.
Yeah.
Maybe your interest changed. Remove it. Remove it because...
After all that investment, it's just...
But you have made the decision.
Of not
didn't tell
writing
you
the thesis.
Why? Because you have made a decision that this effort is not worth what I want to pursue in the future. I will tell you, for example, for me, people don't know that I have done CPA, but I have. I just never completed to level 6. But you see, it's not part of my story. I'm not interested in being identified as an accountant ever.
Yeah.
It's really not part of it. So I don't put it, and it also never supports any job that I'm applying.
Yeah.
Because right now when I'm making applications, it has nothing to do with CPAs and finance and that angle of things.
Yes.
Maybe there is a point in my life where I thought I would get into finance, but not anymore. So I've removed it. And even as you go through life, you will explore so many different things.
Yes.
But sometimes in your CV, you will put the things that now you have decided that this is your path. For example, how about I go into counseling psychology, I study it, I do professional qualifications. At some point, I will remove all that project management studies and experience from my CV because it will not be supporting the narrative that I'm trying to advance at this point.
I like how you've put it, that you own your story, meaning that at some point you will change the direction of your career.
Yes.
So all these things you've done, they're not in vain, but they've pushed you to where you're now going.
Yes.
But you really don't need to put them there.
You don't need them.
And also for the thesis, that now puts the question of, do you really want to remove this, the masters?
Yeah.
So it's either you're doing it or you're not doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough decision, but it's something that you need to think about when you're pushing the days of not. I don't want to do my CV. I don't want to do my thesis.
Yes.
Then what you're telling us is you don't want to be a master's holder or you don't
of
want
that particular
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you move on.
You move on. Yeah.
Okay. It's a tough decision, but it does.
Yes.
It does have. Somebody has to make it. So now we've come from the bio.
Yeah.
We've come to the work experience, and then we've gone to the academic experience, and we start from the most recent.
Yes.
And then the professional.
Yes.
Now, what qualifies as a professional paper? I could have taken a diploma course in leadership.
Yes.
Is that professional, or does it need to be from an institution? Like a CPA, ACCA. Does it need to be like an institutional, from an institution?
Yeah. in my own experience, and so as not to cause confusion, because there's so many different learning that is going on in this world right now, I always start with the academics. So the academics are the masters, the bachelors, the diploma, and if it's relevant for you to put high school, but that's only for the junior, the very junior. At some point you really don't need it. So that is the academic. Then from there you now go into the professional qualification. So this would be anything that is related to a profession. So if it is the CPAs, ACCAs, if it is the project management, if it is the marketing you've done from Chartered Institute of Marketing or Chartered Insurance Institute, if you're in insurance, all those, whether it's global or local, because these days you can do these things anywhere, so you put it there. And then there is also something that we call other trainings attended. So other training could be now, sometimes you go for this 5-day workshop on occupational health and safety. It's an important HR thing, for example, but it is not that now I graduated with something. I didn't even sit an exam, but it was a training. It's a knowledge area, so I understand this. So other trainings and other workshops attended, you can also include them. Sometimes there are, for example, people who are environmentalists, and you've been going to this COP20, COP these meetings. I mean, those are good workshops to have attended, and you put them there. So you put them as other trainings or other workshops attended.
And these trainings have to have certification.
So now these that I'm calling other, they don't need to. Because sometimes you're not given a certificate for just attending maybe 5 days of a workshop somewhere. But these other ones that are academic and professional courses, those ones in most cases you will have something to show. You'll have either a certificate or a badge.
And how will HR prove that I actually did take this 5-day training if I don't have certification for it?
No, we will not try to prove. It just shows that you're knowledgeable in that area. And if I ask you a question about occupational health and safety and you're blank, and you have gone for 6 trainings.
Yes, it's like, okay, it's true. There's a question. And that's why we're being encouraged to take this Google trainings and this online training.
Even LinkedIn Learning. Yeah, some of them are free, but they're very helpful.
Also, they go a long way. HR is actually looking at that.
Yeah, and I personally, it helps if you are generally a learning person, because we always say learning doesn't end. I judge when I just see somebody finished their degree in 2020, and then since then, I don't see anything else. No professional. So I'm asking myself, how are you updating your knowledge? Because it's like a software. You need to update every year. But you can't keep going to university, but you can do that LinkedIn Learning. You can do a 2-day workshop. You can do something.
And I'm even thinking, the career breaks. We could be taking trainings during those career breaks. They make us look like your
mind is jogging. It's always active.
Okay. So we should take this training seriously. Let's just not leave them there when you sit. Take advantage of it. There are many of them during the COVID time.
Exactly. There were so many of the online ones.
Yes. Okay. So then after that, what is next? The next is the languages.
Okay, unless necessary. But unless necessary. But from there, I would say you have covered the important things because you've covered the academics and the experience. So anything you add after that, there's no really format, but I will tell you some good things to have. For example, for me, I like putting leadership experience. So if you've had any leadership experience, you can put it there. And the reason for that is because these days everybody needs to be a leader. First a self-leader, then a team leader, then perhaps a business leader or something of the sort. So I like to see that somebody has some kind of leadership experience from anywhere. So there you can put, if you have been, because in your what do we call it, your experience, the work experience, perhaps I was just saying I've been a project manager, I was HR director. So here you can now come and say I was head of department for this in this company from this year to this year. Then also if you are involved in any other thing, for example, Green Belt movement, I don't know, Young Youth Leaders Forum, this and this, all these associations and clubs, Toastmasters, Rotary out here that are good. You can also say I was chairman for Rotary from this year to this year. I was vice coordinator for Green Belt movement, this caucus from this year to this year. It just helps me to see that you have taken on leadership experience elsewhere, and then it means I can trust you as a leader here. Now, of course, I don't mean that you you tell us maybe about your WhatsApp group admin.
Oh, okay. That's not important. But some WhatsApp group admins, we've raised money.
This nice leadership. And don't overwhelm us. Also, you can just put 3 or 4.
Okay.
It just helps to see that hobbies are always unnecessary for me.
Yeah.
Why do we need to see them?
I'm not looking for a friend.
Languages sometimes are important, especially if you're applying for jobs that are sometimes bilingual.
Yeah.
Also, at times you can see that this organization is across various countries.
Okay.
For example, we work in East Africa, West Africa. So it helps if I can see that you also have French. Then I can see, this one is going to be an asset.
Okay. I have so many questions at the languages, but still on leadership. When you talk about the leader, it looks like you're talking about the extrovert, you know? The person who in the club would be like, yeah, let me be the chairperson.
Yeah.
Oh, let me take down the notes. Oh, you know. But what about the other people who are not extroverted? And are they also leaders? And what leadership roles can they take up? Or
Yes, the introverts are also leaders.
Okay.
And introverts take up a lot of leadership in different forums. Because sometimes when we want a note taker, most of the time we want somebody who is keen, who is attentive, who is not talking, who is listening when others are talking.
Yes.
So they also have their own leadership experiences that they can include. But I always say leadership is not given, leadership is taken. So in your own circles, you have taken leadership here and there. And if you haven't taken, then you see now that's where again my bias is coming in, because it shows that you don't take initiative. Perhaps you sit there and wait for me to appoint you. But what we are looking for in the workplace is more of you see a situation and you rise to the occasion. You know that this weekend we need Christmas party. Yeah. And you rise to the occasion. There is no head of Christmas party. No. But it needs somebody to lead us, and you rise to the occasion and you mobilize people and you say, hey, you come. Let's start thinking, let's go source for a venue. I'm looking for that kind of a person, because if you can do that about a party, then it means you can do that about many other things. So if you just sit there and say, I've never been a leader because I'm not outgoing and they've never appointed me, you see, now I would have a problem with that. But again, feel no pressure. At times, truly, there hasn't been an opportunity for you to be a leader. But I'm asking us, let's be engaged in your community, be involved, you know, so that you can also show that you have been part and parcel of other things. You
talked of self-leadership, you talked of a team leader, and I think a community
business leader.
And a business leader. What are these different types of leadership?
Self-leader just means you're the kind of person who will not be micromanaged. So when you come to work, you are autonomous, you know your job, and then you just do it. And you may have already seen some people, they work, you know, the one we call minimum supervision.
Yes.
There are people who will just do you know your work and you just do it. But there are people who, if you do not follow up, it doesn't get done. So a self-leader is that kind of a person. And many people, they want to work with a self-leader, because at times you have so many things in your mind, you really don't have the time to, as a manager, to be following up on this person, You want them to do come report. So that's a self-leader. Then once you're able to lead yourself well, then you can also lead a team. So it can be a team of 2, 3, 4, you know, at times it is not really that you're a manager, but you're just a team leader, really. Sometimes even interns, you are 5 of you, but there's the one who has been put in charge of the 5 of you.
It's
so
true.
A team leader. And then that's where you would now have these small groups based on the way the company is structured. You may have teams. And then now a business leader is a functional area leader. For example, you are a finance director, you're a HR director, you're a marketing director, you're a functional leader. And these people, they then scale to become even maybe the COOs, the CFOs, the CEOs of the organization. So at this point, you're very strategic, and you're not just thinking about finance. You're thinking about, I'm a finance director, but how am I affecting everything else? So now you're a business leader.
When you talk about the business leader and the team leader, the words to write that down are just so easy, you know. I championed, I created.
Thanks.
What about for the self-leader, the one who anajituma? How do you say that? How do you say that without saying, you know, without looking off? Like you're blowing your own trumpet.
So there's something we missed because that's where the self-leadership would have come in. When you're putting your work experience, let me say I've worked in 3 different companies. After you have put every experience, put your key achievements. So your key achievements is where your self-leadership will come in. When you say key achievements in this role, for example, I've worked in company XYZ for 3 years as a finance officer. For those 3 years, so a finance officer is not a managerial, it's not even supervisor position. But I will say my key achievements have been, then I can list 3. These 3 can be, I automated the approval process for this. I created this template for this. I trained my team on this. So that you see, you're taking initiative.
Yes.
So you're not the head of department, but you have just seen, okay, why are we using this word thing for approval? And I can automate it into a Google form and increase efficiency.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay, I get that. That's nice. And so, and then the languages, and you say the languages might not be so important, but if the opportunity comes up, you should put them.
Yeah.
How much is you knowing a language, and how much should you put there? Because once you know the grammar, and you can move, you can communicate. But how much should I put there? How much should I be? How much is you don't know that language? You just went to class.
I know. So there is basic, intermediate, and fluent when it comes to language. For me, I always say, first of all, you can be caught. If you're saying you know French and you get somebody who is speaking French, and some people get excited. If you said you speak French, then I'm there and I'm like, oh, finally someone who speaks French. Then I go all out with my French, and then you're stuck. You'll be setting yourself up for failure. So you can use that basic, intermediate, and fluent. For example, say English fluent, Swahili fluent, and then French, maybe say basic. And that's where we can know, okay, maybe she has gone to class, maybe she can read it, maybe she can understand it, maybe she cannot verbalize it as much, something like that. But at least it shows you're not at zero. And if I'm considering maybe somebody who understands all these different contexts, then you can be useful.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense then. And then you have your referees.
Yes.
So that's the very last. Is there anything else I'm skipping?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
So these referees, who are we looking at? Do we tell them before we put them on our CV? What is the criteria?
So first of all, I don't put referees on CV, and I don't advocate for that as well. So what I do and what I tell people to do, because people come to me, you can imagine family and friends, they tell me to do their CVs, and I always just write referees. Then I say available upon request. So for two reasons. Number one, right now there is the global data protection rules, and referees, you're putting personal information. So I'm putting your name, your email address, your phone number out there. Now I have just mentioned that sometimes I put out a job, I get 1,000 applicants, and I only need one person. Each of those 1,000, you've given me three referees. So I have 3,000 contacts. What am I using them for? That is not good to have, because you're told gather information, only that is useful for you. So I always advocate, and I would also, maybe as I speak to the applicants, I'm also speaking to the HR, we don't need these referees. Only at the point where I have done everything, and now I am left with Lulu, and I have said now I want to hire Lulu. Then at that point I tell you, give me 3 referees. And when you give me the 3 referees, you have the opportunity, number one, now they're updated. Because remember, you could have a recruitment process can go 3 months. The person you think you would have put at the beginning, now you have fallen out within these 3 months. So you want to update. But at this point, when I'm now asking you, I can be sure the people you're giving me are updated. Number 2, I even tell you, go ahead and tell them that you have given me, in case I may reach out to them. So even when I reach out, it's no surprise. They were expecting a call from somebody. So you have already told them. And for us also, when we ask you for those contacts, we will tell you that we will use these contacts purely for reference purposes. So in that way, I only have 3 contacts which I am using. I don't have 3,000 contacts which are just sitting in my database.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So with the referees, we only say we are going to provide referees upon request. Because then it's not fair. Like you say, we can fall out with them. And we also need to look out for our own referees. The data doesn't need to be everywhere.
Exactly. And you also don't want 3,000 people being told, hey, I've put your name somewhere, look out for this. Yet we're only going to contact 3 at the end of the day.
And who are you looking at when you're asking for your referee?
Okay, when you're asking for your referee, you're looking at former colleagues most of the time. We care so much about your former supervisor. And in fact, when we request, at that point when we request, sometimes for us, we detail. For me, I'll always tell you, I'd like to speak to your former manager. So let's say you've worked in these 3 places. I want to speak to your immediate supervisor. I'll want to speak to the other one and the other one. At times, we also want maybe 2 supervisors and a colleague. Sometimes other people, when it's highly managerial positions, we want to also speak to a direct report. So most of the time play around with any of those, but don't give us anybody outside of the professional.
Okay.
Because we are
not
caring
your
about
local pastor.
No.
You don't want that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
But maybe if you're a first time
a first time job applicant, then maybe you want to go to school. Okay. And think about maybe the supervisor or the teacher that you really interacted a lot with. Yeah. But I will also tell you for a fact. Do you know we start contacting referees at experienced level?
Oh.
Yeah, most of the time, honestly, we really don't care about those.
Oh, really?
People. Yeah.
The pressure out here is crazy.
It's real.
Yes. People straight from campus are being asked
for referees.
They're referees.
Go easy on that. Think about it at the point when you're requested, because you may not be requested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. People leave jobs for different reasons.
Yes.
And people could leave jobs. They say people don't leave jobs, they leave bad bosses.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you're in that situation where you left a bad boss. You left a toxic work environment, you know. And here you are, HR is asking for your immediate supervisor and the one, you know, after that. And then you're just thinking, am I kazi si yangu? You know.
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah. For me, I always just say don't burn bridges. Even when you have a toxic boss, even when you're in a toxic work environment. And for me, I always say, think about your own brand.
Yes.
At the end of the day, for example, if you work here and I am mistreating you, don't be a bad employee. You hold your end. Hold your end.
Okay.
It speaks to who you are as a person.
Yeah.
As a person. So eventually you will leave, but hold your end. So don't throw tantrums. Don't exit. You will always need those people. So don't exit in a bad way.
Yeah.
And don't always tell people, you know, you people are trash and this. Yeah. No. Just exit rightly. Most of the time you'll be given an opportunity. If you leave, okay, it's already a toxic environment. But if it was not toxic, at times they give you they give you an opportunity to do feedback or exit interview.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's anonymous. Yeah. And you can normally give constructive feedback. If you feel like this space you micromanage too much or the working hours are crazy, you can always say that for the sake of their own improvement. Yeah. But don't burn bridges. But
then now that is on your side. You did not burn the bridges. But you don't trust that your supervisor will vouch for you for this job. Your previous supervisor, you know? Yeah. So how do you go? Because you're not so confident in bringing them on board.
No, just go ahead and write. And I will tell you, when we ask even for these referees, usually, so there are two ways to go around this. Yeah. Number one, you could have that person who you just know, they are just spiteful. There are people who are just spiteful, no matter what you do. Yeah. So find a way of finding another person who maybe was also a manager, or maybe you worked with closely and they were of higher rank than you. Just find somebody else that you can give. But if you can't find someone else, then you may just have to give that manager. The beauty about it is we will have 3 referees at the end of the day. Yeah. If 2 people are vouching for you and 1 isn't, Secondly, also, we try in HR, and if HR is not doing this, I would ask them to do it. We try to direct how you give us the feedback. So number one, I will ask you, why did this person leave? Actually, most of the information that we ask is information which, even if your manager is not there, the HR person in that organization can feel using your employee file. Okay. So they can see you are here from this day to this day. You left by resignation. Yeah. It was voluntary. They can see what your performance record was like. Yeah. They can access this. So they can give us this information without the bad person tampering with how the information looks like. Yeah.
But I really like what you say, that you should hold your end. Yeah. You know, so people, you can never change how somebody behaves towards you, but you can change how you
respond.
Yeah, how you respond. Yeah. And that is very important, because you always, they say, ni milima ikutani, mountains don't meet, but people will always meet. So you are not being kind because of that job, but it's for your future jobs and your future engagement. Yes. Now, for the cover letter, I think we've already done it. Yeah. You know, we've already decided.
I already told you I don't like that.
No. And if HR is listening, do we really need cover letters?
Really need them? Do you read them? Yeah. If you don't, please.
Then don't ask for them. Yeah. But if it's been asked, then you say that you should try and put your values and that those of the company
together.
And together. It doesn't need to be a whole story. Yeah. 1 or 2 paragraphs is enough.
Yes.
Now, you've been invited for the interview and you've shown up. How do you dress for this interview? Is there an overdressing or underdressing? Is there anything like that?
Yeah.
Are you going to judge me by my dress code?
Do we judge? I hardly judge. And let me tell you, your content, of who you are as a person, what you will say. For me, it stands out more than other things.
Okay.
It stands out more but again, remember, I'm talking a lot about bias. So this is a personal bias. I care so much about what you have to tell me than how you're looking. Why? Because I know if I have a problem with your black dress, I will just tell you, okay, now you have this job, but here we do red. Okay. So can you go and buy a red dress? Yes, thanks. Okay. But if you don't have the content and you have the black dress, still you're not going to help me.
But maybe if I come in a short dress, you'd be like, okay. So now you're here for other reasons.
These days there's too much going on, but I would say please just try basic standards of decency.
Okay.
For ladies, just basic standard of decency. Don't show too much. You know, be edge towards conservative. Okay. Edge towards conservative, and then it's better if you're overdressed than underdressed.
Okay.
So it's okay to try to step up a bit, and you know, do your suit, do your plain suit, accessorize appropriately, and then show up.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't be over the top and don't draw attention to other things. Just make sure that at the end of the day, you know, I can actually walk out of here and you don't remember what I was wearing.
Yeah.
That's the way it should
that's how
dress.
you, okay. So
because
no bright
I don't want
blocking.
whatever I'm doing to steal the attention, so that instead of you listening to me, you're looking at the color blocking now.
Yes,
you're like, oh, the red and the mustard.
Yeah.
It goes.
Yes, I know.
It should be as toned down so that what is standing out is what I'm saying.
It is you.
Yes.
Because we're not going to employ you and the red dress.
Yeah. Even the accessories, have them just for purposes of having, but let them tone down so that they don't steal the show.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll miss out on the very valuable things that you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you get into the room and you're toned down and you have a seat. I remember in the last podcast you told us, have confidence, have the confidence of a white man.
Yes.
Don't start asking, can I sit? The seat is there for you.
The seat is there for you. It was there for you.
So you come and you sit down.
Yes.
Do you say hi?
Yes,
you know, because it's so unnatural. I've just come and I'm just sitting and nobody's talking to me. And
yeah. But I tell people, do a lot of mental preparation when you're going, especially for the physical, the one-on-one interviews. Do a lot of mental preparation. Why? Because your mind likes familiarity. It works better with familiarity, and it panics when the environment, the things are not familiar.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes people will tell you practice in front of a mirror, even wear whatever you want to be wearing on that day. Wear it the day before, sit before the mirror. Just imagine yourself in this room, and people think it doesn't work, but it does work.
Okay.
Because what you're doing is you're creating this environment to be something that your mind is used to.
Okay.
So when you go into this interview room, you panic less. You're likely just to flow.
Okay.
Because as much as possible, it needs to be very natural. So as the more friendly and natural it is, the better. So when you go there, say good morning or good afternoon, good evening, whatever the case may be, you know, good morning, how are you? Can I take the seat? And they will obviously tell you yes. No one will tell you not to take the seat. So you will take the seat. And you know, they will start off the conversation. Keep a smiley face. We like when people are warm and just inviting.
But there's always that one person who is just looks so offish and rude. Is it
you're the one looking for the job? It's not them.
Okay. Are they placed
so you
there
be nice.
Okay, you be nice. It doesn't matter.
Warm, and be invited. You may change their face.
Okay. So you concentrate on you. Be nice. Be warm.
Be in control of what you can be in control of.
Yeah.
As much as possible. The rest, leave it.
The questions. Tell me about yourself.
Tell me about yourself.
Is it a lazy question by HR? I usually think
it is not a lazy question.
It's not?
It is not, because I want to hear about your passion. And that's for me is where the cover letter is.
Okay.
Because when I ask you, tell me about yourself, I want to hear about your drive, what motivates you, what drives you, what keeps you going. So I'm not looking for you to tell me the masters and the experience, because I already have that.
And you want me to tell you. Want,
and even I can tell the authenticity by how you're just speaking. Most of the time when I'm told, tell me about yourself, I say I'm passionate about people. I'm excited to see people developing. I like to do this, you know. So tell people about what drives you, and then tell them how you like to unwind. I like I play golf. I do swimming on weekends just to unwind, and it's my creative space for me to think about problems and get ideas on what I'm coming to implement.
But this doesn't look formal. It's not speaking to the job, you know.
In all ways, it is.
How?
Because
they don't have a pool, maybe.
Yes, we think that people only want to see. You know, I care about the rest of your life, because if the rest of your life is not healthy, I would be damned to think that you're going to bring things into this. If you as somebody, for example, especially in managerial level, I want to know what else you do. Because when do you think? You never think when you're at work. Our creative spaces are very different. So a problem solver is the person who will always tell you, I like to take long walks. I like to take a long drive. I like to sit by the balcony on Saturday evening just for 2 hours. I like to take a swim. I like to do this. That already tells me you have a place where you just go, and now your mind is able to think and get solutions. That's why on a Monday, people come with, this is what we are going to do. This is what we are going to do. It's because they have stepped into their creative space.
But what about the human aspect? That these people are human beings, and I might, like you're talking about the marital status.
Yes.
I might say something that might not gel well with someone. Then maybe like, this one is doing something I don't like, because telling about yourself is so personal. And then you're here selling your personal things.
Yeah, don't be too personal. Whatever you say, it has to tie with the job.
Okay.
Whatever you say. So even if I say I like hiking, and I would say it gives me, it helps me build my resilience. So even when I'm at work, I'm able to just push through the tough times.
Okay.
So there's a way in which it's what I do outside of work, but it has something to do with what I do at work.
Okay. So you have to say that what it is you do and how it ties to the job.
What character it builds in you that now we use here.
And so it just cannot be too...
It's not just too random. It's not just like, I like baking. Tell us, yes, I like baking and mixing flavors. And while I'm at it, it helps me see how I can adopt, I can be adaptive and flexible to think about different things that I could possibly try out, and they could be solutions for the problem that we are looking at.
Yeah.
So always tie, so that somebody just doesn't think, okay, now she's just a baker.
Yeah. And she's just telling us about her personal
baking,
life.
No,
Okay, that's interesting. And another tough question that is usually asked is, the conversation has gone well. You've bonded. Even the person who was not even happy with you is now smiling, And then they ask you, have you been applying for other jobs?
Yes.
And you're like, people, why are you trying to create enmity?
Yeah.
Why is HR asking us that?
Say the truth. Are you applying? If you're applying, say the truth. Sometimes if you ask this question, it's usually because we are thinking about the timelines, because sometimes we want to wait. But if I know you are aggressively applying, sometimes I want to make the decision faster. You understand? So it is not a detrimental question. You say the truth most of the time. In fact, sometimes we will start with, why did you apply for this position? So at times it is reactive applying, other times it is proactive. I may not be looking for a job, but I bump into an opportunity, or you send me something that you think it really looks like I can do. And it really excites me, and I'm like, yeah. So when I'm asked, why you applying for jobs, I'll say, no, I was very comfortable where I was doing my job, I was thriving, I was still in this phase, but I saw this and it intrigued me because of this. And that's why I am applying. So if you're not in a rush with this position, take your time, because I have somewhere else where I am. But at times you're applying too much, you're all over, and this is true for maybe even those who are just fresh out of college. So just say yes, because I'm in the space where I'm looking for an opportunity. I need to move, and therefore I'm looking for different opportunities. And I have liked this one, and I'm hoping that I get the position, but I'm also looking.
But you already sold that this is the company,
we live in this world as well.
Okay.
So we already know what you're doing.
Okay.
And be real. Don't be superficial.
Okay.
Be real.
Yeah. And be
real.
honest.
Be honest. In fact, sometimes we always even ask, when we are interviewing, especially those very junior positions, I will always ask, okay, those are the ones, when are they getting back? Then you will tell me they committed to get back by the 30th. Then I will know, now I'll get back by 29.
Okay.
If I really think that I need you.
So that's always a good question when
it's
HR
a good question,
asks you. It means they really want you, and they don't want any other person to get you
and
first.
they are also competing for you in the market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not like they're like, okay, she's good, but maybe she'll get a place somewhere else. Let's take this one.
No.
So always be honest when you're
always be
answering
honest.
that question.
Yes.
The question of pay can come in also.
Yes.
And sometimes you've gone through all this glass door nini, but nobody's really telling you, give me the figure,
Yeah.
And they give you a range, and you don't know how much, how do you place yourself with the pay?
I always say it's good you've mentioned glass. The first step is always to do a bit of research. So just check online. Sometimes it's there. Even just Google Coca-Cola customer experience manager salary.
Yeah.
Sometimes you would bump into something. So do your research as much as you can. If there is anybody you know, it can help you to, because what you're trying to achieve is to be as realistic as possible when you go into, as ambitious but realistic as possible when you go into that room. So try and research. And if you can find something, then work with it. But at times you really can't. You have done all the research, there is no figure. Decide within your heart what you want. Decide within your heart. At times for me, if I'm leaving a place and what I want in my heart will differ. For example, if I'm somewhere where I'm earning 100 and I'm looking to taking it to 150, I just want to be confident and say I'm looking for 150, then always give a range. So if what I know is comfortable for me is the 150, then I will come and say I'm looking for 150 to 180, something like that. And what I'm saying comfortable is because no matter what you do, if you give me 110, I'm still not coming.
Yeah.
So decide within your heart and don't go if you're still jittery. For me, I like when you make a decision and you're happy about the decision that you have made. And it's okay for them to turn you down because of pay. That has happened to me hundreds of times. Yeah. People just tell me they can't, and it is okay. Sometimes it can be that I was earning 100. Then I've been off work for certain reasons. Yeah. But now I'm willing to take 70. So again, decide within your heart what it is that you want. I have seen even people coming, they're applying for a job. Their current pay is 200. They're asking me for 150 or even 100. And when I ask them, why do you want lower? They will tell me, I have been an expatriate. I just want a job in Kenya. I've been earning this much, but out of Kenya, but I want to be. So people have different reasons. So you decide within your heart, what are you comfortable with? And then go with that.
What are those things that you need to factor in when you're deciding? Because, there was a time we used to see a lot of young people on the streets with placards saying, I will take any job. And I used to think, I don't think that's the right strategy, because why are you taking any job when you'll take any job with any pay? Yeah. So how is that the remuneration going to help you? Is it going to take you to the work transport wise? Is it going to feed you? Are you going to be comfortable? At least buy some new clothes. Yes. So I feel like the person who asks the job like that has not taken all these things into consideration. True. And very easily can be frustrated. When they feel like I'm being worked and underpaid. Yes. Yeah. So what do you need to factor in before you make that decision?
Yeah. Of course, think about what you want that money to do for you. I've been in that situation where initially I took what was offered, what was thrown at me. But I realized it was not even able to cater for my just basic living expenses. So think about your living expenses. That's the first point you always consider. And then now beyond that, when after now you've thought about your living expenses, if you're going to move jobs, you want for this extra, what do you want this extra money to do for you? Maybe you would like to study. Maybe you would like to start owning property. Yeah. Because we are living life out here. So maybe you want to own property. Maybe now you started to have children and they're starting now to go to school and you want to take them to this caliber of school. So work backwards. This is what I want to afford. And then now what will that translate to in terms of a monthly salary? Hence, how much increment am I looking at? Of course, there are people who say 40% and above increment is good. But then it should be guided by your life and why you're looking for this opportunity, because it is likely that you may take that opportunity and it doesn't meet whatever you had expected, and then you're dissatisfied again, and you're always in that cycle.
Okay.
Of being dissatisfied.
Wow. Thank you so much, Karen. Let me just check if I have one more question.
But I think before we leave that place, let people not just focus on the salary, please. Ask about the benefits as well. Yeah. And you may be asked to ask a question. Take that to your advantage.
Should you always ask?
Yeah, because you also want to know about this job. There's so many things that you don't know. You just read a JD and perhaps you Googled them. Yeah. But you want to know, do they give medical cover? Yeah. Do they have an opportunity for you to advance? What is their career progression like? Yeah. What is the company culture like? Yeah. So take that time. Of course, you can't go and ask 17 questions, but find those 2 very impactful questions. Yeah. And then because you want to also find out about the salary, ask about the benefits as well. Because I have once left a job to go to a job with a higher pay that did not have medical, which I was getting the other side. So then you realize
you're still in the same place.
There's nothing you did.
Yes, it's
so
true.
Think about remuneration holistically.
Is there a way of identifying a toxic work environment while you're at the interview stage?
Yes. Case studies. Yes. I like case studies. Okay. Organizations use their situation to talk about the case studies and they present the problem. So sometimes the case studies will help you have a sneak peek into because they will give you their problem. So if I tell you there is no performance structure here and we are trying to, then you know indeed there isn't.
Okay. So you're like, Upper, there's a problem.
Isn't. Now, based on the problems that you give, there's some that you'll be like, okay, I see this is an issue, but I can fix it. Sometimes for me in HR, I just know that, okay, this is a problem, but this is a problem that is likely to be somewhere, and I can go and deal with it, because every employer is a red flag. Same to you. You are also a red flag.
Okay.
Every person has weaknesses and every employer has weaknesses. It's just that you need to decide, is this okay for me? Is it a problem I am comfortable with? I have read some case studies where people are even talking about the reporting lines are not clear. That's a problem for me. Yeah. So I just step away from that opportunity in totality. Also, when the way they handle you during the interview process. These interviews that where people go and you are to be interviewed at 10 and your interview is at noon.
Yes.
Most people, they are patient, they wait, and we will wait because we are looking for the job. But I already know these are people who do not respect your time. They don't respect you as a person, and they will continue to frustrate you. And this has proven true always. I have also friends who they are looking for work, and many times I will tell them, take the job, because you don't have anywhere else. But they will take it and they will continue to realize that it is a toxic place. And they continue just to prove themselves right because of how they were treated during the interview process.
And even when they ask you a lot about working under pressure, should that be like a red flag?
Sometimes there is working under pressure. At times there is also, at times they refuse to negotiate. Sometimes they refuse even to be flexible with time, like or they are unrealistic. Like I send you an invitation at 6 for an interview, tomorrow 8.
Yes.
You know, they're just small, subtle things that when you think, you're like, why?
It's not a must.
Yeah, why?
It's not a must. I had a friend once go to a job interview, and then they started asking her a lot of, those red flag questions. And so it reached a point, she was like, listen, you might not take me for the job, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
And that time we were like, Sasa wewe, how are you going to tell the owners of the business how
they should do what they are doing?
And then she was like, no, I told them, I was like, whether you take me or not, I've told you. And is that right? Because again, we've said we're going to meet these people in other places.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
I think there is a way you can respectfully give feedback. And at times, you find I have given feedback as well, because I have once been in an interview where it was so many stages, like 6, 7 stages. Yeah. Again, that to me is usually another red flag, because I'm like, you don't need to see me 7 times for you to make a... Even days, you go for 3 times and you know whether this person you're marrying them for the rest of your life. So why would it take 7 interviews? And you can tell they don't have a good decision-making framework. Because then it's like everybody wants to be involved, and they really can't decide who should make the decision on something. Yeah. And after doing all those stages again, at the end, we disagreed on salary. Yes. And again, I was like, why wasn't this fronted initially? So that we can know whether we are on the same page. So I actually gave the feedback to them, and I told them, I think it would be nice if you do the salary question in the pre-screening, so that you can already know whether it is worthwhile even to proceed with the interview. So there is a way you can give this respectfully, and for me, I think you should do that, because it helps everybody else after you. Just don't vent. Don't be like, how can you do this, you guys? You're not even serious. No, but you can give feedback respectfully. Just know that when you do that, at times they may not take you for the job, but that's okay, because by the time you're giving that feedback, you have already decided that I'm okay whether you give it to me or you don't.
When you say that, I said, and when you compared it to a date, and you say that, you just go for a few dates with someone and then you decide. And I said, and it's a job. It's because for so many job seekers, we sometimes forget, and especially young job seekers, that we also are bringing something to the table. Yes. And just like you said, you are a red flag, and also the company is a red flag. Yeah. So sometimes it feels like you're almost, you should just accept everything, Yeah. No. Shukuru Mungu, you have a job. No, at least they like you. There's so many other jobs that you can fit
with, you can fit in,
and work with well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This conversation was really nice.
Thank you, Lulu, for having me.
I think once again, it really opened our eyes into the whole HR thing, and how HR perceives us.
Yes.
Because for many young job seekers, it always feels like it is mwalimu wa math, you know, with a cane. And 1 + 1 is always 2.
Yeah,
I know. You have no room
to present a different perspective.
Apana, you know, and it's either and it's always that if we didn't pick you, you failed.
Yeah, no. No.
So now it's that you weren't a good fit for us. And sometimes you could have been a good fit, but you have an opportunity to present yourself in another company.
Yes.
So Aluta continue.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you, Lulu.
It's always a pleasure. So that brings us to the end of our conversation with HR consultant and HR expert Karen Olege. Do let us know how you found it. Subscribe to our YouTube page, that is Wow Radio, the podcast. Follow us on Instagram, Wow Radio Kenya, on Facebook, Wow Radio Kenya, on TikTok, Wow Radio Kenya. Share with us your feedback, your struggles, the things you'd want help with. And you can also find Karen Olege on YouTube.
Yes, at Career Growth with Karen.
At Career Growth with Karen.
Yes.
And social media platforms?
Karen Olege.
Karen Olege. So this job seeking is no longer a problem. We found the solution. Thanks, guys. See you later. Bye.